it's been at least 3 months since we brought Seth on the show to shill for DRX. So it's time for our biannually, yeah, biannual DRX are gonna win Masters segment. Seth, welcome back to the show, bro. I hear you're nursing a mild injury at the moment,
Just
mate.
just
Hope
an
you're
old
all right.
video.
Little bit. It's a rough time for a lot of games to be coming out. Overwatch 2 beta's re-releasing because I did have a little bit of a minor boo-boo last night. So I've got a cracked knuckle. So got to get that taken care of. It's in about 7 hours and going to the doctor and potentially undergoing surgery. But I have to do my part. I have to come back on the show. It's always a pleasure to be invited. And of course, I'm going to be talking up the RX because once more, they are the representative from Korea. They are going to be the players that go over there, represent the region, and hopefully this time come back with a trophy.
Right. So obviously, yeah, DRX are representing South Korea again. The game's changed. The scene in South Korea has also changed a lot here, but this team has still been able to weather the storm. I think that really speaks highly of them here. But can we dive a little bit deeper and talk about this roster set and what it is about DRX that's allowed them to once again conquer their home region?
I think they just really fleshed out the roles. Now we've been seeing a lot more of the triple initiator that they're running, where they don't have a duelist and they just have RB playing on something like a KO, and everybody just plays off of each other's information rather than needing to have a duelist that is kind of hard carrying or is falling behind. Something that RB suffered from over at Masters. He was not putting up solid performances. This time, though, this stage, he's looked absolutely impeccable on pretty much every role that he's done, whether it's the triple initiator, whether he's playing the Jet or the Rays. The guy's been putting up solid figures, but I also like that we kind of just have locked Buzz into chamber only for the most part. Like he does flip over a little bit to like we saw Killjoy in the grand finals and whatnot versus
Exactly.
Maru. So he has been still expanding it a little bit. He's not quite one tricking, but one of the things that he had said at Masters was you need a chamber. He's just so strong. But then they proceeded to not really run him at Masters, and then they ended up losing the games. So I like that we are seeing him trend more into chamber. The switch up in this series, I found to be a bit surprising, just because he has been playing it. It's obviously incredibly good when you're playing on maps like Ascent and whatnot. But I think that they just felt comfortable enough playing against Maru, and they wanted to have the Killjoy there to kind of like counter strat them, use uh, the lockdowns and whatnot to kind of really just flush Maru into certain positions, because I think they had a really good idea of how Maru likes to play the game. I'm not going to be shocked at all though going into Copenhagen if you just see Buzz right back onto the chamber.
Okay. I mean, the run here for DRX was pretty flawless though, right? Like not dropping a map in their way through the playoffs here in VCT also is a pretty big statement, especially when other regions definitely locked up pretty tightly here. I kind of want to know from you, Seth, where DRX sort of stand in the meta and what do you feel like compositions are really their or maps rather are really their strengths? Because I think a lot of pundits looking out for DRX want to know how they should expect like a map veto to play out and where DRX are going to look to try and put out their I guess their best sort of permutation of this roster and composition.
So the thing is, like this stage, they basically showed an immense amount of comfort on basically every single map. Maps that they formerly weren't really that willing to go to or kind of wanted to avoid, they've been picking them up. There's been a hell of a lot of Breeze, Ascent, even Bind, which is not a map that they historically, like
Mm,
going back into last year, not
yeah.
a map where they would really like to play. But it seems like they've really fleshed out their compositions and their play styles on it almost every single map. The only one that we don't really have any information on is Icebox, because that's
Mm,
been just widely banned, if not by DRX themselves, then by teams that are going up against them. So I'm guessing, given their former proficiency for that map before it did undergo the minor changes, I'm expecting that they're still probably incredibly competent on that map. So
mhm.
I think that going into a map veto versus DRX, if you're an international team, going to Copenhagen to try to play against them, it might be best to just go for whatever you think you're strongest on, just because like DRX does not really have any bad maps. So
Yeah.
trying to tackle them and fight them in that regard is not
14-0.
really going to work
Oh
out for
my.
you. Yeah, and like
This is
Fracture,
wow.
they've looked excellent on that. They finally picked it for the very first time because it's only ever been picked against them or left up. And then they finally selected it themselves, and they looked impeccable on it. So
Mhm, mhm.
I think this is an even scarier. And I know that people are gonna be, "Oh, this is a copium." This is an even scarier DRX than we've ever seen before. Like,
I was gonna say, like,
RB is actually just
the Copian actually died down a little bit here, Seth, from like the first time we got you on the show, talking about like Newturn, for example, then to Vision Strikers, then to DRX.
It's been very reasonable today.
He's been very, very tame. I don't know if it's because his wrist is hurting
I think it was
so
burnt
badly.
from last time.
Exactly. But I mean, I get it. For me, it still feels like Korea doesn't have that too much of competition yet. So it's still like a big question mark as to what that's going to look like at the international stage. But as you just saw, the stats they have from map to map, if you're looking at a 7-map rotation where, you know, you're going to be good on at least 4 out of the 7 because your best one's going to get banned and then you're still okay on your worst one.
You can't ban them out.
You're still okay, exactly.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll try to see if we can huff it up.
What's your expectations then, Seth? You know, obviously from your position, seeing them compete so dominantly sort of domestically, and also knowing that in the past they've had some really big runs. Like, where do you see this team going?
Getting out of groups, period.
I mean, getting out of groups, I think it's guaranteed. Don't worry, they're gonna be able to get out of groups. They'll probably still get shafted. They'll probably end up in some group with, you know, fucking like Optic and Fnatic and some other teams and whatnot. And everyone's gonna be like, oh my god, are they gonna be able to escape? And they'll make it happen. They'll get out of their group. I mean,
Fnatic aren't even in groups, so that would be, they'd really get shafted if that happened.
Okay, whatever. Anyway, you know what I mean. But I think that they should be able to make a deep run. I think that a semifinal appearance is definitely not out of the question whatsoever, if not a grand finals and a victory. Like, these players are of that caliber. They can play to that level. They can best everybody else in the world on the right day. It's just a matter of, do we see this inconsistency in some of the players, namely RB, if he's primarily going to be playing, you know, duelists and they're not going for triple initiator setups. If we see that inconsistency kind of creep back into his performance and he can't find his shots, you know, that's where I'm going to start panicking a little bit for them. But I think that given what they showed, what they did during the stage, going 21-0 in their maps, not dropping any at all, you know, being pushed to overtime a few times, but for the most part, incredibly clean run. I think that if they can bring that level of play to the international stage, they absolutely can take it all.
Oh, I'm hyped. I can't wait to move to predictions, and you know, I think I've kind of I still undersell DRX every time. I think I'm done doing that. I'm a pretty strong one last time.
Join me.
All right, Seth, man, thanks for joining us, and good luck with what may be a bit of surgery for you tomorrow, man.
Yeah, don't shake those wrists too much.
Hopefully that fragging hand is back in form real soon.
I've been through worse. I've managed to cast, you know, 12 hours after getting an appendix removed, so I think I'll be okay with my hands.
I'm telling you, like, if Talent Takedown comes around, you know, we need you in form, mate. You know what I'm saying?
Don't worry, I'll be well practiced by then.
Hell yeah!
All right, mate. Take care. Thanks for joining us, and yeah, all the best.
Thanks, Zach.
Thanks for having me.